We support the NYPD. They have created New York to be the safest big city in the United States of America under Commissioner O'Neill, and I have immense respect and in awe of the fine job that the NYPD is doing. You know what, Chief? It's an honor to have you here, my friend. God bless
Joe.
you.
It's a pleasure coming here to join you.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. I appreciate it, man. Hey, man, I'll tell you, you guys are doing a great job. I don't know how you do it. I don't know. First of all, can I start here, sir?
Sure.
How do you get around the politics? And I want to say, and Commissioner O'Neill's such a good guy. He's such a regular, as you are, Chief. How do you get around the politics in New York City, man?
Listen, we're cops, and that's what I've been a cop for 37 and a half years. It's what I did. I started out on the streets, and I consider myself a police officer. I don't play politics. I'm going to say what's on my mind. I'm going to say what I think is best for the citizens of New York and for the men and women in the police department that work for me.
Yeah, God bless you. Yeah, can you tell us exactly what does a chief do? Look at the stars on this guy. Man, look at that, man. I love that.
Listen, it's everything.
Thank you for your service, man.
Thank you.
I got to tell you.
I'm involved with everything with the PD. You know, whether it's the crime reductions, the administrative aspects. I'm involved in every day-to-day aspect that goes on in the police department, and basically supporting the men and women that are out there every day actually doing the job. I'm sitting in One Police Plaza now, so I need to be out there and make sure that I appreciate the great work that the men and women that are out on the streets right now, what they do each and every day.
You feel like you got to get on the streets, right? If you're in the office, you got to get out.
I'd much rather be out on the street than sitting in the office. But as you get a little bit older, I guess it's easier to stay in the office.
You know, and how are things different in respect to crime fighting today as opposed to when you started in 1982, sir?
Listen, people are more involved, and it's precision. We know who we're going after, and we work together as a team. Back in 1982, it was crazy. There was stuff going on all over the place. This was a different city back then, a lot more violent.
I drive my kids around, Chief, and I go past the improvisation. Remember 44th and 9th?
Oh, yeah.
Remember trying to go? We used to go to the comedy clubs in the village. It was impossible to get down there, man, because of the crime like that.
Absolutely.
And
I started in Hunts Point. And that's where I started back in 1982,
God.
and you couldn't go half a block without having streetwalkers all over the place coming up proposition you. And as cops, we weren't allowed to do anything. As a street cop, you were not allowed to make an arrest on that. Only certain individuals back in '82 were allowed to make those arrests.
And then when Commissioner Bratton came in with the broken windows and Mayor Giuliani, the whole city just changed.
Absolutely, allowed cops to be cops again.
Yeah, which I think is happening nowadays.
Absolutely.
And again, I have to reiterate, and I'm saying this, so not to put political pressure on you, but how you're getting around the politics. Current day politics is stellar because that is now. One cop told me once, he goes, "Joe, it's not black and white anymore. It's not like right or wrong. There's a gray area that you guys have to deal in. So it's very, very tough because you have to watch everything you do, and they're going to criticize everything that you do."
Listen. Police work has always been criticized. From day one, the yelling at bumper shooting to when we locked up Larry Davis way back when to whatever happens now. There are always issues with police work. Cops have to know what they're doing. I think today's cops are better suited than back in my day. Body cameras. So you know what you're doing. It gets rid of the idea of people making up stories about you because once those body cameras are on, we're recording what actually happens from start to finish.
And I'm going to tell you about the press conference you had yesterday, but how do you say, I work in the at-risk community for 25 years. That's been my mission, helping the at-risk community. And I see the stressed areas, and I see the highest crime is in the stressed areas. And I just said on the air, and it incenses me when your men and women, the NYPD, when there's a 911 call, you're the first to show up. You're the first to show up, and now you have to wear virtually a flak suit to go in. You have to, like you're a SWAT team, you have to wear a bulletproof vest because police officers are being killed, and you have to go into these stressed areas. So I say thank you for going into those areas and helping the most stressed because you're getting more heat from that community, and politically they're going up against law enforcement in that regard. When a police officer, chief, is putting her or his life on the line when he goes in to help people in a stressed area like that.
I worked my entire career in what would be considered problematic neighborhoods, and they were some of the best people I ever worked with in my life. You're going to hear your voices out there that are always outraged against the police whenever we do A, B, and C. But the good, hard-working, silent majority that lives in those communities truly appreciate what the men and
Amen.
women do there.
Amen. Give us the stats, man. This is great. This apparently crime in the first half of 2019, reading here, has fallen into another record low. Give us an idea what the stats are and what they mean, Chief.
Again, through the first 6 months of the year, we're down 5.4% in total overall index crime. This is coming off a historic year that we had last year. And it's every single category. It's not one crime driving it. Every single category is down. Homicides. And that's the big bellwether. Homicides, lowest 6 months we've ever had in the modern era, 135 homicides. So we are on pace to top last year's completely historic year. Obviously, there's one incident, one thing that came up yesterday, and something that does really cause me some issues is shootings. Shootings across the city are up right now. They're up 7%, 24 shootings year to date. And that's a trend we want to get rid of, because if shootings start to go up, that's what you hear about, that random bullet that hits somebody on the street.
Yeah.
That is something that we really need to get under control in the city.
Well, and you can't say this, but I can. There's politicians that are letting these people back out on the streets, man.
Oh, absolutely. There has to be consequences to your actions. I am for diversion for nonviolent crimes. That's fine. That's a different answer. But for violent crimes, for people running around the streets with guns, I don't believe that diversion is the right answer. I think there needs to be a consequence. If you're willing to go out on the streets of Brooklyn or anywhere else in the city with a gun on your side and a cop catches you, risk his life to make that arrest, there has to be a consequence to that. I don't know if we want to be given second chances for someone who's taken that much of a step.
Amen. That makes all the common sense in the world, Chief. Hey, is this all due, all this reduction in crime and the success that the NYPD is having? Is this the CompStat program? Is that what this is all about?
It all started with CompStat back in 1994.
Yeah.
CompStat gave accountability, and it put a focus on how to reduce crime. Now, I run the CompStat now, and we talk about specifics. We talk about individuals. We talk about people and why they're on the streets, which is great as the prosecutors are there. They come to our CompStats too. So this is a true conversation as who's causing the violence in the neighborhood, what we can do to get that person off the streets, because it is a very small percentage of people that cause the violence. And if we can get them off the streets and put them away, it discourages others from following that path, because they see that there are consequences.
Yeah, tell us about yourself, Chief Monahan. Man, I tell you, you're in this powerful position. You're a regular guy. You're a cop's cop. I'm always in awe, and every time I go past a police officer, and I suggest you do the same if you're watching or if you're listening, say thank you for your service, to the men and women of the NYPD. But how did you start, man? And did you ever think you'd get to where you are today?
I never thought I'd be chief of department. You kidding me? I came on, like I said, in 1982. I come from a family of
man. I was on Saturday Night Live, man. You were a little kid, man. Did you watch me after the shift? Come on now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Saturday nights, if I was off at 11:30, I don't think I was sitting at home watching Saturday Night Live.
You're out somewhere. You're out somewhere, man.
Yeah, but again, I came from a family of cops. My grandfather was a cop in New York in 1927. My father came on in 1946.
Oh, my gosh,
and my brother in 72. So, yeah, this is something I knew I always wanted to do.
Yeah, well, God bless you. So you went in, and then I still don't understand the politics of it all. You have to be... I guess if you just do your job and you put your head down and just stay on focus, that you can get the job done, right?
Do the right thing.
Yeah.
Always looking to do the right thing. Always, as you move up in the ranks, make sure you're taking care of the people that work for you.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that are making you successful, the ones that are out there every day.
Chief, we'll let you go, and we appreciate your valuable time and congratulate you on the crime stats in New York City, man. I walked the streets in the late 70s. Yeah. That's where I started out. And I went to 44th and 9th. I used to say we used to have to double. I was with Larry David. Larry David?
Yeah.
We'd be at the comedy clubs together, right? We'd have to go, hey, let's go to Smiland's get a sandwich. Go with me, all right? Because God forbid you get mugged. You go across 9th Avenue. Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
It was crazy.
Absolutely.
And people don't understand. And I'm talking to you now. We have a lot of young folks that listen. 42nd Street, what that was like back in the day, and you were right in the middle of it all.
Right, you didn't go down there alone. It was a very seedy area, and now it is probably the nicest place in the world.
Yeah, and again with a shout out, certainly Commissioner O'Neill doing a great job, and what Commissioner Bratton did with Rudolph Giuliani, Rudy Giuliani, one of my dear friends, doing such a great job. I have to ask you this before I let you go, because I emphasize it every morning on the radio. We got the platform. and we're pro law enforcement. The I call it assassination of police officers every day. Every day that cops getting killed. It seems like every day. Is it? Why is that happening? Am I exaggerating this? Is it less this year than past years? And why does this keep happening, Chief?
Listen, it's a dangerous profession. It's a dangerous profession throughout the country. Men and women put their lives on the line every day, and as you leave your house, you're going out on that street. Something could happen. Problems happen in a second. You look just the 4-4 the other day. It was a simple arrest. It was simply going to arrest a guy for breaking the back window of a car, and it turns into a wrestling match on the street where he pulls out a gun and points it into a cop's chest. They never expected it. And here's a man that 8 felony convictions, 5 violent felony convictions, been in jail since 1990, and just got out in April. And he's willing to pull a gun on a cop and almost shoot him. That cop didn't expect that. So you never know what's going to happen every single day you're out on the street.
Does it come from the top? Like, we have a president now, it's my opinion, is me speaking, that supports law enforcement. And it pretty starts, and sometimes if it doesn't come from the top, it'll seep down where people will disrespect law enforcement. And it goes along with the military as well. It pretty much starts at the head, correct?
Listen, you need to have support, and it's got to go throughout the communities. People need to support their cops. The cops are out there, and they're doing the right thing 99.9% of the time. Are there always going to be bad apples that we have to look for? Absolutely. But it needs to go through the communities. That's why we do neighborhood policing, is so the communities get to know the cops, know that we're human. We're not an occupying army here. We have families. We go home to our families just like they do, and to get to know one another as human beings, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I love that you're grounded as you are, Chief Terrence Monahan. I have to ask you this. I'm on the radio. I got to ask you these questions, man. Look at me now. I'd rather just have a couple laughs and say thank you and what a great job the NYPD is doing, and we are in awe of you and appreciate it, sir. But the suicide with police, we have to address that. It's an issue, and not only in the police department. It just seems to be epidemic nowadays in schools. I got to worry about, God forbid, my kids in schools, but in law enforcement, why are there the suicides to the degree that we're seeing it, sir?
Listen, this has been a problem that's been for years and years in law enforcement. We've lost 6 officers this year to suicide. Nationally, I think we've lost 100 and change at this point, including a state trooper just last week. There's a lot of stresses in police work. What we need to do is take the stigma away from seeking help. Cops run in and day out to put their lives on the line to save other people that they don't know. Well, they have to take that time out to save their partners and save themselves. Go out and get help. So we're trying to make a bunch of changes in the police agency to take that stigma away and make it easier for cops to get help. Whether they come through the department or they go outside the department, get the help. If you're having these stresses, if you're feeling it, talk to somebody. Don't internalize it. There's always an answer. Go out, get some help. We're going to be hiring clinicians to go out and talk to cops, maybe take that stigma away. We're going to have peer counseling. We're going to get cops. We're going to train cops within every command to understand how to talk to somebody, understand how to get them the help that they need. So if you don't want to come to a boss and talk to them, there should be another cop in your command that you can talk to, and he can steer you somewhere to get help. The whole idea is to speak about it and talk openly about the problem.
Humanizing the NYPD. Can I get those stars? Can I wear those stars in the studio? I want those stars, man. What do they signify exactly? Is that like when you're chief, you get a star?
Yeah, each we have 4 levels of chief. There's a deputy chief gets 1, assistant chief gets 2, chief of a bureau gets 3, and then the chief of department. I'm the only one that gets to wear 4.
Chief Monahan, congratulations. I'll tell you what, I'm an old guy, man. I remember when this city was tough and you couldn't walk the streets. And I know it's the NYPD that has turned this around. And with respect to Commissioner O'Neill, Chief Terrence Monahan, thank you for your service. God bless.
You, Joe.
Godspeed, my friend.
I appreciate it, man.
God bless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.